right, everyone. It is game day. We are set. We are excited. The Houston Texans are getting ready now to go freeze their butts off as they play the New England Patriots. So we are live for a pregame show with y'all with our good friend Ryan, ready to go. Ryan, how you doing today?
Doing great. It's game day. Excited for some Patriots playoff football.
Yeah, I'm stoked. This is the deepest we've played in a long time. And I'm really hoping, and we'll talk about the weather in a minute, but I'm really hoping we're gonna have some snow to mess with those Texans. Because the Texans, just based on playing in a dome and their division, have one of the most comfortable weather schedules every single year. So hopefully they're not ready for this.
Absolutely.
Nice. So before we dive into the Pats, I think we got to talk a little bit about what went down yesterday in the two games. I mean, there's not a ton to talk about with Niners Seahawks, but it's important to talk about Bills Broncos for a couple key reasons. One of which being the winner today goes to Denver next week. So for me, like when I saw that, in the long run, it was ultimately Josh Allen pressing. You could see the weight was on him the whole game, and his struggles is ultimately what cost them. It wasn't just this generation's of the NFL's Des catch or not catch. It was Josh Allen letting the team down.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah. It was a great game. But again, Josh Allen is put into these situations and the kind of running joke is he's like when you're playing in Madden and you got the defense down on you, just start pressing all the buttons. You can just see his brain start to spin and either he's running or forcing the ball somewhere. And the highs are very high with him, but the lows are very low. And the catch, whether you thought it was a catch or an interception, it again, like that drive, there just wasn't a lot of confidence um, in the way he was moving the ball, and to make a throw like that. That you watch the receiver Cooks out there, he probably has a step on the defender, but it's underthrown,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just I think it just highlights how important it is to really maximize your quarterback value when they're on that rookie contract. Because you look at the Josh Allens, the Mahomes, the Burrows, they're all between 18 to 25% of their team's salary cap. So you got Drake May and Bo Nix who are both less than four. It's like you got to cash in on these years, and it just seems like the Bills every year they're close, but they lose receivers, they lose people on the defensive side because they lose that cap space flexibility. So, what do you do from an organization when you're hamstrung that way? It's got to be tough.
Yeah, it certainly has to be. And then you look at it where, like, as Pats fans, we were very lucky that Brady always took below market value, and because he
Hmm.
came into the league as that sixth round pick, he was able to, like, he never was paid very highly, so it wasn't hard to still give him solid raises while
Hmm.
keeping it low compared to the payroll to get the weapons in. For Josh Allen, he came in as a top pick, so he
Yep.
already had a good salary, and then he took that extension like so many do. And then even if next year he wanted to rework his contract and wanted like 20-25 mil less or something just to spread it around to his teammates, the Players Association would probably immediately put a stop to it,
Yeah.
because the Players Association, their job is to make sure each player can make as much as possible.
Hmm.
So the Bills are stuck now, just like you said. And these top players, you got to win while that window is going. Kansas City did a really good job with Mahomes with that, constantly readjusting it. But even
Hmm.
then, you saw that this year, Mahomes had a good year, but they're not in the playoffs because they just
Yeah.
didn't have enough weapons around Mahomes, and
Yeah.
that affected things. Um, as far as, and ultimately, the was it a catch or was it a pick didn't affect, that wasn't the decider on the game
Yeah.
overall. Just like those pass interference calls. At the same time, like they started off really slow. You have 60 minutes.
Hmm.
If you just blame it on a few things in the second half, well, what were you doing in the first half?
Yeah.
Uh, to me personally, when we look at that catch or that pick, and then you look at the way they were calling things in the wild card round last week, where we heard a lot about the shin in multiple games, I would say I'm hard pressed to not say it was a catch down by contact.
Yeah.
Um,
That
but
that's my thinking as well.
yeah, just based on the way the league had things called 1 week prior.
Mhm.
That's my thought. I don't know if anyone checked Des Bryant's Twitter or gave him a call to see what his thoughts were on the whole situation. Um, but I thought it should have been a catch down by contact. That being said, the league also they rushed that review. It's like
Yeah, that it
there's
seemed very quick for what was a pivotal moment in the game.
yeah, yeah. Take your time, focus on it, and then the other thing, I don't know. It was weird and it sucks for the Bills. But the biggest story coming out of the game came out after the game, and that's Bo Nix's season is over, which means Jared Stidham, Patriots legend,
Yeah.
I'm using that sarcastically, y'all, but he did start with New England, will be starting the game in Denver next week, which means more than likely whoever wins today will be the favorite going into Denver next week.
Yeah. And my I as we entered the playoffs, was thrilled the Patriots made the playoffs. We get the first win. And I kind of came into this game like we're playing with house money now. We're in the divisional round. Um, we have a shot to make it the AFC Championship, but the news of that injury just makes the stakes of this game so much higher. All of a sudden, your path to the Super Bowl is a lot easier with the Stidham-led Broncos. So it's I went from happy we're here and hoping we put together a competitive game to now it's like, oh boy, we're one step away. So let's make sure we're putting our best foot forward because the Patriots really, you know, it's a game where you're facing Stidham. All right, I think we are having some technical issues, but we should have Rob right back. But yeah, I mean, when I think about for Broncos fans, the news has to, and even as just a fan of football, um, it's it's heartbreaking to have a team that played so well during the season, and now you're on the cusp of going, or you've made it to the AFC Championship, and your quarterback gets injured. Um, it's just a basketball and football are very different sports, and there's such different dynamics with players. But as a Celtics fan, you can kind of think back to last year with Tatum. I know the Celtics were already down significantly to the Knicks in the series, but it feels like you're just getting robbed of an opportunity to win a championship, um, which is, it's tough. So my heart goes out to the Broncos fans, but at the same time, Sean Payton is a fantastic coach. So if there's ever going to be a team that can, rally around an injury and really put everything together and put a good game plan together, I'm sure the Broncos, they are not going to go out without taking some swings at whoever they're playing.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan, for keep. It looks like you were able to keep the show rolling. So I think the show stayed up with you when we crashed, possibly.
Yeah, I
If
just went on a little talk about how sad it is for Broncos fans and how, to go that far, and it's tough. And as a fan, you always want to play another team at their best, but at the same time, it's for Sean Payton, it's next man up, and what do you do
yeah,
to put your team in a position to win?
and Sean Payton he has been big on Stidham all the way. Like he brought him in, but the thing is, Stidham hasn't played in 2 years besides the regular preseason. And then what we see a lot, Nick and I talked about this on the pod last week. When a starter goes down, because in the NFL, they like the third stringer gets more practice reps than the backup because the third
Hmm.
stringer's playing, pretending to be the other quarterback.
Yeah.
So but if they haven't taken a hit in forever and then they haven't seen live action, like it's the chance for them going down injured gets very, very high. So we might see lifetime Longhorn Sam Ellinger playing meaningful minutes from third stringer all the way up to meaningful minutes in the AFC title game next week. I mean, I'm not wishing anyone gets hurt, but it
Yeah.
happens a lot when a starter goes down. So
Yeah.
hopefully hopefully the Stidham has someone like giving him some bumps or something in practice or
Oh,
unofficially out of practice this week to get his body ready to go.
yeah. That's another thing. It's like you take someone who has been on the sideline, and then all of a sudden they're in an NFL speed game getting hit by NFL speed linebackers and D linemen. Um, like you said, 2 years is a long time to have not thrown a pass. It is, but again, it's Sean Payton. So,
Yeah.
he's a great coach, and I'm sure, they're gonna fight.
Yeah. If anyone can get him ready, it's Sean Payton for sure. And then we're going to briefly touch on what I think everyone expected to be a slugfest last night. That just was not. I think the clock struck midnight on all the injuries for the 49ers. And even an injured Sam Darnold, who was able to gut through his oblique injury, which for a quarterback, that's a big injury.
Yeah.
That Seahawks team, they're the best in the NFL right now, and they proved it. What were your thoughts on the game?
No, yeah, I watched the first half of the game and then was like, you know what, I don't. The Seahawks, they just have such a great defense, and they got some great offensive weapons with Najigba, Walker, Darnold. He looks like he's right back to his Minnesota slinging it. And you know what? I think what helps them is their defense is so strong. They really don't need to ask a lot out of Darnold. They got good running
No.
backs who can get chunk plays, and they got a great wide receiver. So it's like, you know, this is a team that the Seahawks were one of the two teams in the NFL to allow less than 300 points in the season. And usually it's like, okay, they played in the toughest division with the 49ers, with the Rams. I mean, it's impressive what that defense has been able to do with the teams that they've had to play this season. And, they got to be the odds-on favorite. And I think anyone who plays them has to be pretty worried about that matchup.
Yeah, for sure. It was. I think I did the same as you. I watched a little bit in the first half, and then I'm like, okay. And then I tuned back in the fourth quarter, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I don't need to waste my time with this game.
I
Good
saw
job,
Mac
Seahawks.
Jones got it.
Yeah, I mean, might as well at that point. Might as
Yeah.
well. It was bad.
And like
So
I
yeah,
was going to say on the 49er side, it just feels like their window is tightening and tightening and tightening. And, we talked about it with Allen. It's like they just signed Purdy to that big contract. Trent Williams is 38. Kittle's 33. McCaffrey's 30, which is like 40 in running back years.
yeah,
Um, you know, it, Shanahan's a fantastic coach, but I think that organization needs some serious retooling because I think he puts his players in a fantastic situation to succeed, but the players are just getting older
yeah.
and they need an infusion of some good young talent.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see what John Lynch is able, what magic he can work. He's done really well going from the field to the upper management and
Yeah.
being and doing his job. He's done great. We'll see if he's able to retool on the fly.
Yeah.
But now it's time to talk about what we're all here for. It's Texans versus Patriots. They're kicking off in about almost 40 minutes or so. We are stoked for it. And then y'all, once we go dark on this pregame here, we will stick around or come back. We will be having a watch along. Nick and myself, along with friends of the pod and big time Texans fans, Patrick and Stefan, will be joining us. So it should be a lot of fun. No, we are not going to do a watch along for the night game. One game's enough for us this week after doing 3 last week, back to back to back. But yeah, so let's jump into it. So Pats versus Texans. All time, not that it really matters because it's two very different teams, but all time the Pats lead the series 11-4, including 2 wins in the AFC divisional round of the playoffs. Of course, there was a certain guy named Tom Brady under center back then. So two very different teams than from pretty much any of the times they've played in their 15-time history. But
Mhm.
that's the overall the record. And then you look at the weather for today's game, and the weather should be favoring New England. I think Ryan, when you saw him turn there, I think he was looking out the window.
It's still
Um,
snowing.
and it's still snowing. And I know I got a report from Nick saying they got the broadcast on and there's snow falling there.
Yeah.
Snow is what we want. We want a big snow game. Of course, when I think snow game, when I think playoffs, there's one thing that immediately comes to mind, and it's Adam Vinatieri kicking a knuckleball after the refs properly called a tuck rule. That was the rule then.
Yep.
It was correct, and that was an all timer to close out Foxborough Stadium, which is now where many people have their cars parked right now as they were tailgating before heading into the game today. But yeah, the big question: can the Texans handle the weather? What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, this is when you're a New England team, this is the weather you want to have in the playoffs. You want it to be cold, you want it to be snowy, you want it to be wet. Um, I know May, Henderson, a lot of our young guys, Campbell, this is their first true, Patriots playoff weather game. Um, but they have a coach, Vrabel, who played in a lot of them. So the little tricks to working your cleats into the ground, or what moves are going to work, what won't. I think you have home field advantage, and then you have a different level of home field advantage when you. Same thing with Chicago. If they have bad weather, that always favors that team. So. And again, you have a Texans team that plays in a dome in a division that it's a lot of warm weather cities. Um, you just love that it's okay, that it's just going to be a little bit of a shock to a little insider info. My sister works at a hotel in Providence, and the Texans came in at 5 yesterday.
That's
um
late.
so they I don't I think they probably woke up this morning and looked out their hotel windows, and hopefully they were a little bit shocked too. And they're going to I think it's definitely a situation where this is a good thing for us, and hopefully we can take advantage of it.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that's probably their normal. They're trying to stick to their normal schedule. But if you're looking at the weather this week and you're the head coach, you're calling whoever handles the hotels. You're saying, get an extension, guys. We're getting up there on Wednesday, and we
Yeah,
are go practice outside at Foxborough High School or something. Try to get
yeah,
acclimated, get ready to go. Because I'm sure when they walked out on the field this morning, they were just like, that
yeah,
was probably pretty. That was a big shock for a lot of them.
yeah, absolutely.
And all that to say, CJ Stroud did play his college ball at Ohio State, so he's
Hmm.
played in the cold weather. We just got to find out, um, has his couple of years in Houston done enough to make him forget all that?
Soften
Uh,
up a little bit.
yeah, yeah. So, and also, when you talk about crowds in the NFL, it amazes me on the national level how rarely the Foxborough crowd gets brought up. You always
Hmm.
hear about Seattle crowd, which was fantastic last night. You hear about
Yeah.
Minnesota. You hear about all these places. They don't talk about Foxborough. And I've been to a few games there. I know you've been to a few games there,
Hmm.
especially when you mix the snow and the playoffs in. This crowd is going to have a factor today.
Yeah, it's Patriots fans are passionate. You know, they've been hungry the last couple of years for some like true postseason success. They're back. They're out. I mean, I know people who are season ticket holders who, the past couple of years, it's a snowy, rainy game. They throw their tickets on the portal because it's, Mac Jones or someone else, and but it's like those guys are all going to the game today.
Oh yeah.
The people there are passionate. They want to see this team win. They're going to be loud, and it's I think because of the Tom Brady and Belichick dynasty, it kind of gets glossed over in terms of a fan base. Like, well, you're so used to success, it's just a foregone conclusion, and you guys aren't that passionate. But you go there, you sit in those stands, you see those fans. It's like they're going to be loud. They're gonna the Texans are going to hear it.
Yeah, it's going to be loud. It's going to be exciting. There's going to be a lot of snowballs.
Yeah.
It's gonna so if when the patch Pats get that first touchdown, the network's going to be turning real quick to show the stands because there's going to be snow flying, which is going to be a lot of fun. Side note, friend of the pod, Justin, he is going to be in attendance today, so we should be hopefully we'll be able to get a post game report from him on next week's pod. See how it
Oh, that'll
went.
be awesome.
Yeah. So now we're looking at the game itself. At the game itself, I know I've got three keys for a Pats win. I'm going to talk about those. Then I want to hear what Ryan's keys are. For me, it starts off plain and simple. No turnovers. You can't start out the way you started out last week. Hopefully, they got their sea legs. They're good to go now. But this defense is going to be hungry. This defense is arguably the best defense in the NFL. They're going to be going for the ball. They're going to be hitting hard. And it's going to be cold, so it's going to be hard to hang on to that ball. But hopefully, they've been practicing with cold, wet balls all week, and they're ready for it. They can't turn the ball over. If we have more than especially turning the ball over with less than 10 yards for them to score, I think I don't think they're gonna pull it out the way they did last week if they have multiple turnovers and if they have them in the Texans red zone. So that's big for me there. My next one is, as far as an individual player, it's going to be Will Campbell. He probably had one of his worst games all season last week. That being said, it was his first playoff game, and it was only his second game back after being out for pretty much 2 months of the season. So still knocking that rust off. But he went up against some absolute beasts, and he was getting pushed into Drake May, and he was battling. And it's not going to be any easier for him this week. So whether Josh McDaniels is able to scheme up some help for Will Campbell, or whether Will Campbell is like, all right, cool, I saw what happened, I'm good to go, and he's going to make the adjustments and he's going to be ready. Because he said in his draft day, he said he's willing to fight and die for this team and this quarterback. Well, obviously we hope it's not literally. It's just, as far as a football game goes, well, that football game is here, and it's here today. And then for me, key number 3 is going to be Josh McDaniels. Is he able to keep Drake May calm? Is he able to keep him get that game plan going where he has the easy outs here? He has someone like Henderson ready to get a huge block or leak out and get a dump off pass. This is what we brought Josh McDaniels back for. It's games like this where we're up against an insane defense and we have the talent. We have who should be the MVP in Drake May, but he's still young. He still doesn't have a ton of weapons yet, although his weapons are getting better and better. Will McDaniels scheme up the success and the win? Those are my 3 keys. What about you, Ryan?
My first one, I think the Patriots need to run the ball well today. We need to have long, sustained drives that are going to tire out that Texans defense. I look at last week. I think Pittsburgh had like 3.3 yards per carry. It was almost like a non-factor in the game. And when I look at really our winning streak during the regular season, we were good, robust running games from Henderson, from Stevenson. So I think that's important to establish a good, balanced offense that keeps the defense honest. And again, takes a little bit of the pressure off May to try to make stuff happen. My second one is just O-line blocking. Last week was, May's interception was a tip at the O-line. He was sacked a bunch. I think he had 10 runs. It's like we need to give him the time where he's not running out of the pocket, getting hit, especially when you see what happened to Bo Nix. It's like he needs that protection. He's young. This is his second playoff game. We need everyone to step up, Campbell included. Like you pointed out, that's going to be really important. Especially against a smart defense that can force turnovers. The more pressure that's put on May, the more likely those turnovers are going to happen. So, there needs to be just good support from the offensive line. And then I think my third key to the game is to force Stroud to throw the ball, because Nico Collins has been declared out. Gonzalez has been declared active. I think we have a very strong advantage in the secondary with our corners and safeties versus their wide receivers. And Stroud's a guy who had one of the worst interception ratios in the NFL this year. I think he threw like 19 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He's a guy who, if he puts the ball in the air, there's a good chance one of our guys could come back with it. And I think we need to put them in a position where they're passing more than running, because if we can do that, we can force some turnovers on our end and really kind of flip the game that way.
Yeah, that's the recipe for success right there. That's for sure. Um, Now on that flip side, how can the Texans pull off? Well, I'd say the upset because the Pats are the home team; they have the better record. But if you look at ESPN, it is okay. I'm going on a tangent here. It's amazing how quickly ESPN and then even CBS, Jim Nance and Romo yesterday in the game, the Pats hate is back, and it's back quickly. It's like, oh my goodness, y'all, give us a sec to actually start dominating before you hate on us. But granted, Jim Nance is a Houston guy, so it makes sense. But really, everyone at ESPN's picking the Texans. I like when I see that, when I see the trend where everyone's so sure something's going to happen, because it's like they're missing something key.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, that's my soapbox there. I don't know your thoughts on the Pats hate coming back so fast.
Yeah, I think I sent you guys it's like a screenshot of the
Yep.
NFL Live crew, and all five of them had picked the Texans to win. And I think it's again a little bit of that. You guys have had your success. You don't deserve this. Texans, they do have a great defense, but there's a reason we're the 2 seed. And we
Yeah.
played. You want to go to the schedule. We played a good Chargers team last week, and we were. I mean, other than the Monday night, before the Monday night game, we were the only team to win by double digits.
Yeah.
So it's like this is a team that's versatile, who's got a strong offense, strong defense. We're very well rounded. Whereas the Texans lean more heavily on the defense. They're a great defensive team where offensively they can be a little mediocre at times. But it's like I think it's just so easy for people to just say, you know, Texans win and the rest of the country cheers. So
Yeah.
if that makes them feel better, get some more clicks, good for them. But you know, Patriots, I think when you look at all three levels of the game, they're the better team.
Yeah, I certainly agree. I think the Pats are the better team all the way around because they're more well rounded, and that's clear. If the Texans are gonna get the win, it's gonna be obviously that defense is gonna get some key turnovers, but I
Mhm.
think on offense it's gonna be C.J. Stroud, um, going back to his Ohio State days and showing what he can do. But even then, C.J. Stroud had some weapons at Ohio State, and he does not have a lot of weapons today. It's going to be, if the Texans win, I think we're going to be calling this the C.J. Stroud game.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts? How do you think they can pull it off?
I think a Texans win would look like another slow offensive start by the Patriots. Maybe the Texans go into halftime up 3 or 7. Um, maybe they build it up to a double-digit lead. All of a sudden, the Patriots are put in a position where they're going to have to consistently throw the ball. And I think that's what the Texans want. They're a team that can force turnovers and then do something with those forced turnovers, like we saw against the Steelers. And I think if we start slow in the first half again and they build any kind of lead, I could see it very quickly, think like the wheels falling off the cart and the Texans running away with it again. So I think it's very important. Our first half offense looks, efficient, clean, and to your point, turnover free, and getting points when you can.
Yeah, totally agree there. So all right, it's getting time to it. We want to make sure people have time to grab their beers, grab their food, grab their juice boxes if they're young enough. Talking to my nieces and my nephew before the game gets going. So let's go to the picks. What's your pick for this game?
So I got Patriots 2013. I think maybe we go into halftime up, 10-7. Maybe they get squeeze 2 more field goals out of us, but I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I think, we both have good defenses that are going to kind of suppress the offenses, but I think ultimately the Patriots should win by a touchdown, but again, low scoring.
Yeah, I think low scoring for sure. I've definitely got the Pats winning. I think based on the weather, based on the defenses, if someone gets more than 21 points, they're going to win the game. I'm going to say the Pats are going to be the ones to do that. Uh, Pats win. Of course, I'm picking the Pats.
Yeah.
Probably 21-12, 21-15, something.
Yeah.
It's going to be that kind of game for sure. For sure. Which then, of course, we do have a game tonight. So, and y'all think the weather looks bad in New England. Ooh, it's going to be frigid in Chicago tonight. Who do you got for tonight?
So, it will be frigid there, but Stafford played plenty of years in Detroit. He's familiar to bear weather. Um, but they call them the cardiac bears. I think they're going to need a triple bypass because LA has them, overmatched on all three levels of the game. I have Sean. You look at last week. That LaFleur big collapse. It's like McVay's too good of a coach to let something like that happen. He once he gets his foot on the gas, he's just going to keep it there. I think it's going to be a 10-point win for the Rams.
Going with the Rams. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm also going with the Rams. I think, when you look at everything, the the offense for the Bears, if they can put it together for 4 quarters, the weather, the home crowd, it screams Bears victory. But
Yeah.
with the way the NFL season has gone, it's just, if it's not an all NFC West final to go to the Super Bowl, I feel like we're missing out. I
Yeah.
think the Bears are getting there. I think, especially once Ben Johnson has shown what he's done this year, I think they're going to have some more people head into play with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson in the offseason for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're there yet. I think the Rams' experience wins out. I think Matthew Stafford shocks the world and wins a cold weather game.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, of course, if his back locks up in the cold and the Bears just come out and run him out of the house, I wouldn't be surprised either. But I'm picking the Rams.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean the Bears are, and I think you can look at a lot of similarities between the two franchises, Chicago and New England. Um, it almost feels like maybe if not this season, but in the future, they could kind of be on a collision course, kind of with what they've new coaches, new quarterbacks, building new teams, and all of a sudden this second year resurgence. But wouldn't that be fun? A Bears Patriots Super Bowl, but
We could
let's
get the revenge for '86.
yeah, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
That would be awesome. So yeah, that's the games tonight. So y'all, that's our pregame show. We're excited. We're so happy that y'all joined us. Ryan, I'm sure we'll be texting throughout the game, and hopefully we'll be
Absolutely.
having you on again soon, talking about a Patriots win. So yeah. For those of y'all, if you need to find us, if you're watching us, you found us, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We'll be back live in about 20 minutes with the game for the watch along. Please join along with us. Share with a friend. We'll be more entertaining than the regular color commentary.
Oh, all right. Have a good one. Go Pats.
Go Pats. Have a good one.